Special counsel Jack Smith may have just given former President Donald Trump his ace in the hole. Welcome to our latest YouTube video where we dive deep into the recent developments in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case involving former President Donald Trump and special counsel Jack Smith. In a groundbreaking turn of events, Jack Smith, the prosecutor at the heart of the investigation, has made a declaration that could significantly impact the future of his high-profile case. So Smith has explicitly stated that his position is subservient to the Attorney General, a move that lays the legal groundwork for Donald Trump to appoint a favorable Attorney General if elected for a second term in November. Now seriously guys, Smith may be playing both sides here, as apart from his earlier statement, he also recently offered to provide evidence that could help Donald Trump in his classified documents case, all a part of what they call the Brady rule, which mandates that disclosure of any favorable information to the defendant and could ultimately turn the tide in Trump's favor. The video also features insights from legal expert Neal Katyal, who discusses the recent ruling by Judge Aileen Cannon and its implications for Trump's legal strategy moving forward. So Katyal suggested that Smith may end up losing the war with Trump, as Cannon suggesting his legal team could bring up the arguments again in the future, and it could result in Trump further delaying the start of the federal trial beyond November's election. By then, Trump could theoretically win this whole thing and blow this case out of the water. With the federal trial start date looming and the 2024 presidential election on the horizon, the stakes really couldn't be any higher for Trump and for Smith. But seriously guys, this is one you do not want to miss, so stay right there. Now before we really get into this, all I ask is that you guys take 1 second, drop a quick like for the video, and I want to thank you guys so much for always sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. Now, as legal commentator Jonathan Turley said, every day Jack Smith reduces the likelihood to get a trial through before the election. Check this out.
So let's assume for a second that they rule for Smith and they send back what's called the mandate to the district court for the trial to go forward. If that happens in June, the trial judge has to get through pretrial motions that could take easily a couple of months. Then the trial itself can take 3 months. Now, if you do that, you're getting awfully close to the election. And the Department of Justice has long had a rule not to have elections within a couple of, trials within a couple of months of elections. Now, even though Jack Smith has been given a lot of discretion, that policy rests with main justice. And I think the Attorney General himself really should sign off on departing from that policy. So there's a lot of questions here, but Jack Smith is seeing a loss of calendar space. And for him, it's significant. Every day he loses, it reduces the likelihood that he can get a trial through before the election.
Now, honestly, I just have to say that these Democrats, they are a piece of work. They can't even get themselves together long enough to actually pose as a serious threat to Trump. And even when they try, they end up giving Trump and his team another win. Take, for example, the latest argument coming from special counsel Jack Smith, the man who indicted former President Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. So Smith writes that the special counsel is not independent and is inferior to the Attorney General, who can remove him or overrule any of his decisions. So this basically lays the groundwork for Donald Trump to appoint a more favorable Attorney General if elected for a second term in November. Now let me just explain how that would work. So Trump, who's eyeing a comeback as the Republican frontrunner for the 2024 presidential race, has said a firm not guilty to 40 charges thrown his way. These charges are all about him supposedly keeping hold of some really sensitive materials after he left the White House in January 2021. But on top of that, he's accused of throwing obstacles in the way of the feds trying to get those documents back from his place in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. In a separate federal case last year, this guy Smith, he hit Trump with some serious accusations related to the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. So we're talking about charging Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights in connection to the investigation. Trump's stance? He's completely denying any wrongdoing, claiming that these legal moves are politically motivated and a witch hunt against him as the Republican frontrunner. Preet Bharara, who's been in the thick of it as a New York federal prosecutor before, talks about it in his podcast. He says that Donald Trump would almost certainly appoint an attorney general who would kill the federal indictments if Trump's trials are not completed by then. And like I mentioned earlier, Smith himself admits that he's totally under the will and the power of the attorney general, and that includes his removal as a special counsel and the dismissal of the charges that he brought up against Trump. Smith's legal paperwork seems to double down on that prediction. Smith was replying to an amicus, or friend of the court briefing by Edwin Meese, the former attorney general to President Reagan, who suggested Smith shouldn't have been appointed as special counsel in Trump's cases. Smith's counter? He's under the attorney general's wing, following orders, and could be replaced or overruled at any time. Smith wrote to Cannon that the special counsel is not an independent entity, but an inferior officer under the terms of the U.S. Constitution's Appointments Clause. An inferior officer is one who reports to and is supervised by a superior officer, and the special counsel is an inferior officer under the special counsel regulation because the attorney general supervises the special counsel's work, may remove him from office, and may review and countermand his decisions. And as an additional means of exercising control, the attorney general can rescind the regulation at any time, or even amend the appointment order and exercise direct statutory supervision over the special counsel. The special counsel is subject to the attorney general's supervision and oversight. The special counsel's work is overseen by the attorney general who appointed him and delegated to him powers that are otherwise vested in the attorney general alone. In other words, he's playing by the constitutional rule book and he's totally under the power of the attorney general. Now, with that being said, Bharara explained some possible legal routes that Trump could take against Smith. He said in his podcast that in federal cases relating to the election interference and the hoarding of classified documents, Trump could simply pardon himself when he becomes president. This option would be very controversial and likely litigated in court, though. Second option, according to Bharara, would be for Trump to appoint a favorable attorney general to just drop the federal charges. This was an option that Trump almost certainly would employ if elected as president in 2024. The third option is to claim immunity from prosecution based on constitutional protections for a president for acts committed in office. But seriously, guys, whatever route they take, whatever thing they say, his supporters will still vote for Trump. No matter what, for his supporters, Trump will be our next president. But hey, I hope you guys are enjoying the deep dive here. Jack Smith may actually be helping Trump with his legal battles, and that is definitely something to hit the like button for, right? So like I said, special counsel Jack Smith certainly has a very unique way of seemingly going against Trump. I mean, aside from giving him a winning line in the argument that we talked about, Smith is almost offering to provide evidence that could help Donald Trump in his classified documents case, according to a new court filing from the Justice Department. In a recent court filing, Smith said that the government is providing information or material known to the United States that may be favorable to either defendant on the issues of guilt or punishment. They mentioned the Brady rule. Basically, it's all about making sure that the defense gets to see any evidence that could help their case. This came from a big deal Supreme Court decision called Brady versus Maryland. It means that if the folks trying to prove you did something wrong, the prosecutors, have any evidence that is favorable to you as a defendant, they have to share it. And it doesn't matter if they didn't mean to keep it a secret, they still have to hand it over. If they don't, and this comes out during a trial, the judge might have to stop the trial or stop certain evidence from being used. There's been a bit of a messy situation with the process of sharing evidence in a case about classified documents that involves Trump's team and Jack Smith. The special counsel asked Judge Aileen Cannon last month to reconsider a ruling that would allow Trump's lawyers to publicly disclose witness identities and their testimony, evidence given to them in discovery, to the court docket. That decision would let Trump's lawyers tell everyone about who might be witnesses and what they said, which usually is kept private. Jack Smith is worried that if this information gets out, it could put those people at risk of being threatened or even harassed. He mentioned that this is the kind of thing that has already happened to some people involved in Trump-related cases. Well, if they're so in the right, then why they need to keep it a secret, right? But yeah, anyway, in this latest development, Jack Smith's side has already handed over some new stuff that wasn't shared before, including a full copy of a search warrant application for Walt Nauta, who's working with Trump, and notes from a new interview done on February 9th. Smith mentioned that some of the evidence could actually help Trump's case and hinted that there could be additional evidence saying that the government is aware of its continuing duty to disclose newly discovered additional information required by the standing discovery order. But seriously, I mean, this just kind of adds to what I've been saying. Donald Trump might still get his way in the battle against special counsel Jack Smith regarding the classified documents, despite a judge turning down one of his bids to drop the charges. And this isn't just me saying that. The same idea came from Neal Katyal, a seasoned lawyer and one-time acting U.S. Solicitor General under Obama. So Katyal was weighing in on Judge Aileen Cannon's decision not to entertain one of Trump's requests to dismiss this case. Cannon wasn't convinced by Trump's team, which argued that the Espionage Act charges, they were just too vague and they shouldn't apply to Trump. While she acknowledged their argument deserved a closer look, she pointed out that their issues with the Espionage Act would be better addressed in connection with jury instruction briefing. And that's where Katyal pointed out that this might not be the end of the road for Donald Trump. He suggested that Cannon leaving the door wide open for Donald Trump's team to revisit their arguments could play right into Trump's hands, especially if he's looking to push back the trial start date. The trial is currently set for May 20th, but a delay past the November election could work in Trump's favor. If Trump manages to outdo Joe Biden and win the 2024 election before the trial kicks off, he could potentially have the Department of Justice call off the case once he's back in office. Really though, at this point, Republicans need to just not be too overly confident and complacent thinking that Trump's victory in 2024 is going to be automatic. They got to stay aggressive. You guys watching this video definitely helps that cause. So I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have deep dived into how special counsel Jack Smith's approach could be unexpectedly playing right into Trump's hands in this legal battle. Whether you agree, disagree, or have insights to add, I want to hear from you guys. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for sharing it. I'll see you on the next one.